Coming into his senior year of college, he was interviewing for a job at Northwestern Mutual because he wasn't sure if he was going to get drafted. Then, after failing to score a single touchdown on national TV, he got benched for a different backup quarterback. But now Ben DiNucci runs one of the most successful brands of any athlete in American sports, even though most people don't even recognize his name. So how did he get here? And what was Ben's secret from going from a 7th round backup QB, who's already been cut twice in 4 years, to one of the most successful athlete entrepreneurs in the NFL? Well, I sat down for an exclusive interview with him to learn more about the untold story behind the rise of the NFL's most impressive multi-million-dollar side hustle. Ben DiNucci grew up around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he attended Pine Richland High School. His ball placement, football IQ, and overall athleticism were evident from an early age, and by his sophomore season, he was already the starting quarterback for his varsity team. As a senior, he became the first player in Pennsylvania state history to throw for over 4,000 yards in a season, while also throwing for 46 touchdowns and leading his team to an undefeated regular season and state championship appearance. Pine Richland would go on to lose that game 49-41, but Ben solidified his status as a Pittsburgh high school legend by passing for 383 yards and 4 touchdowns with a 69.6% completion rate. This was enough to earn him Pennsylvania's Gatorade Player of the Year, a 3-star ranking, and offers from schools like New Mexico State, Fordham, JMU, Akron, and Penn. But at the last minute, he decided to stay home and go to Pitt, where he would back up Nathan Peterman during his freshman year. And by the 7th game of his sophomore season, Ben would be named the starter. But he ended up losing that job to true freshman Kenny Pickett the week before the team upset number 2 Miami 24-14. That December, Ben announced he'd be transferring to James Madison University, an FCS school, where he would be named the team starter ahead of the 2018 season. And the following year in 2019, Ben would finally break out, throwing for 3,441 yards and 29 touchdowns on a 71% completion rate. He was named Conference Offensive Player of the Year and even led the Dukes to the FCS National Championship game, where he would once again fall short. But Ben would still leave JMU ranked top 10 in almost every offensive category after just 2 seasons with the team, which proved to be enough to get the attentions of scouts across the NFL. But Ben wasn't quite sure where he'd end up, or if he'd even get drafted at all. That was until the Dallas Cowboys hired their new head coach. See, like Ben, Mike McCarthy also grew up in the Pittsburgh area, and his brother Joe McCarthy was even Ben's 8th grade basketball coach. Even more coincidentally, just 5 days after McCarthy got the job in Dallas, Ben ran into him in the hotel lobby before playing in the FCS National Championship at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas. And whether or not these 2 connections were enough to get Ben drafted in the 7th round of the 2020 draft, the Cowboys selected the JMU quarterback with the 231st pick to avoid him signing with another team as an undrafted free agent. This landed him a 4-year, $3.4 million contract, but only $95,000 of it was guaranteed. Hardly enough to live on for the rest of your life, especially as a player who's not sure if they're going to get a second contract, much less make the team. But as Ben told me, he had no plan B.
My plan was I'm just going to let this thing ride out and see kind of how long it lasts, and I'll kind of figure it out after that. My girlfriend and I kind of joke about this all the time. Like, probably a few months before my senior year started at JMU, my senior season, I had a call with Northwestern Mutual just to kind of, a little bit about me, a little bit about them. I was like, hey, I might as well start figuring out if something doesn't, fall the way I want it to, right? I get hurt, God forbid, or something happens, I just don't play well, and this isn't, football's not in the cards anymore. Like, I might as well start just connecting, networking, and seeing what else is out there.
But as if you were able to speak it into existence, in August of 2020, as he was about to start his rookie year training camp, his phone started blowing up.
I'm sitting in my bed in the hotel room during training camp one night, and all of a sudden, like, this TrueBrvnd starts liking all my pictures. What the heck is TrueBrvnd? So I go to the page, I'm like, yeah, these are kind of interesting. Click message, and he had already sent me a message, just like any of these other brands do. They're trying to get stuff in athletes' hands, right? It was basically, hey man, do you want some free hats? And so I met up with him. He gave me probably 4 or 5 hats. I wore them around my rookie year, facility games, whatever. And every time I'd wear one, some guy, whether it's Dak or whoever, would be like, hey man, that's kind of cool. Like, what's the deal with that? I had no idea, right? I'm just like, no, I don't know. Just any of these other brands that are trying to get stuff in guys' hands.
Now, at the time, TrueBrvnd only had around 2,000 followers on Instagram and was the small side hustle of a guy named Sang Trong. Sang was working full-time as a sales executive, but had started the company a few months prior during the start of COVID. The idea to turn the word Dallas upside down was a nod to how upside down the world felt during the start of the pandemic. And after a few months selling hats, the design stuck. But at the time, Sang was still only ordering a few dozen hats per month to sell to friends and family. And he knew that if he ever wanted to blow the brand up, he was going to have to take a giant leap.
A few months after my rookie year, I get a random call from Sang, my business partner, on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's real late at night. I'm like, interesting, what the heck is he calling me for right now? So I answer, hey man, it's Sang. I've been thinking a lot about this, bouncing it off a lot of people. I need a business partner. I need to fast track this thing. Do you have any interest in going to business together and trying to blow this up? And the first initial thought that came into my mind was, regardless of what else happens, I guarantee you I can get the guys on my team to wear this. And if the Dallas Cowboys are associated with something, it'll kind of catch fire.
But not everyone in Ben's life thought this was a good idea, mainly his dad, Jay. See, Jay DiNucci was an entrepreneur himself, running a promotional apparel business in Pittsburgh for most of Ben's life. And he wasn't a fan of his son investing money in such a new apparel company.
My dad almost, single-handedly talked me out of maybe the best decision I've ever made in my life. And we joke about this all the time. He said, you better make sure you really like this hat. He didn't understand. He was like, hey, who's going to buy a hat that says upside down Dallas on? He said, this could be the most expensive hat you've ever bought in your life. You better make sure you really like this thing. And so one thing kind of led to another. I kind of went back and forth for a few weeks. I basically said, kick rocks, Dad. I'm gonna do this, right? Like I'm gonna figure it out one way or another. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? It would have been the same thing as buying stock in, Amazon or, Apple or whatever. So I said, let's do it. We signed off on the agreement, on the papers, and then just kind of hit the ground running right after that. So
immediately, Ben asked Sang for 2 hats for every guy on the team. And every time he was at the facility, he made sure to have one on too. This laid the foundation for fans to get naturally curious about the unique design. Enough that hopefully a few of them would ask about the brand and buy a hat for themselves. But still, growth was slow. That was until the perfect opportunity came around for some old-fashioned guerrilla marketing. Now, you can't fully appreciate how hard Ben had to work to show off his product until you've had to do the same thing yourself. But that's even harder to do when the product you're showing off is the most comfortable underwear you've ever worn. Because I can't actually show you how sweaty, itchy, and binding my old underwear was before Chill Boys sent me a box of their bamboo and performance boxer briefs. And I realized that I needed to rethink my entire underwear drawer. Chill Boys' performance line is cool, soft, and quick dry, which is important when it's 90 degrees out. But by far my favorite part is their high-tech micro mesh fabric that's been keeping my boys fresh and dry all summer long. And if you're looking for something even softer, they have their bamboo line, which features an anti-chafing glide zone that's like a Cadillac for your undercarriage. But whichever of the countless styles or patterns you pick, just know that you'll be ready to empty out your entire underwear drawer because you'll never want to wear anything else ever again. And when you use my code TW15, you'll get 15% off your first purchase. Just click the top link in the description or go to chillboys.com and use code TW15 on your first purchase to get 15% off. And thank you to the best underwear in the game for supporting this channel. Now, when HBO selected the Dallas Cowboys to be featured on their preseason show Hard Knocks in 2021, Ben and Sang immediately knew that this was going to be their chance to get free exposure in front of millions of fans.
So as soon as I figured out that we were going to be on Hard Knocks, I said, I'm not taking a hat off for a month straight. Every time there's a camera, I'm going to make sure that it's in front of the camera, right? And so the second episode came out, and I was playing chess against Micah Parsons, and before we started filming live, we got to see the set, everything. There were probably 10 cameras just around this chessboard all over the place. So I kind of got a good lay of the land before. I'm like, all right, I know I got to wear this thing backwards. So if it's coming, it's going to hit the upside down Dallas as soon as you see the chessboard. And so the episode aired a few weeks after it was taped. And at this point in the brand, at this point of the business and the brand, like we were ordering 20, 50 hats at a time. It was very, 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 very tiny. And up until this point, that we hadn't had much stock online. It was just kind of one-offs of random colors that we had done, kind of leftover stock. All of a sudden, when this episode airs on Tuesday night of Hard Knocks, the Shopify store, ding, 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 ding. We're like, what the heck is going on, man? Like, I wasn't watching it, so I didn't have any idea what was going on. And then I checked the Shopify store, and there's hundreds of people on our site.
And even though most of those visitors weren't able to buy a hat that night, Ben and Sang were able to use the data to order a couple of hundred of the most popular hats people seemed to want, and within 15 minutes of re-releasing them, they completely sold out. This only created more demand, and not just with the fans.
After Hard Knocks, Dak came to me and said, "Hey, I want one of every color. I'll pay for them. I don't want anything for free. I'll pay for them. Bring me one of every color." So the next day, I brought him a box of 55 hats to the facility, and he hasn't taken them off in 3 years since.
Ben said Dak wearing their hats alone 10x the brand. And by January of 2022, him and Sang finally started to understand just how big this thing could become.
From 2020 to 2021, we 10x'd. From 2021 to 2022, we 10x'd. From 22 to 23, we doubled, and we're on track to double again this year from last year. So there's been a lot of growth, and it still feels very much that we're in the growth stage, which is good.
But possibly even more impressive is the fact that Ben and Sang still run this thing as a two-man team, with Sang handling day-to-day tasks like fulfillment, and Ben chipping in to manage the Twitter, come up with new designs, and of course get more hats in the hands of athletes. And even though dozens of knockoff brands have popped up around the country trying to mimic the success of TrueBrvnd by turning the name of any random city upside down and slapping it on a hat, Ben and Sang believe that what they're doing is more than that.
We wanted to give the city of Dallas, the state of Texas, something to stand behind, to rally behind, to support, right? You see on the East Coast, it's the New York, right? It's the New York Yankees logo. People buy those from everywhere. People wear them from everywhere. And on the West Coast, it's the LA Dodgers logo, right? So there hasn't really ever been anything that has come into the Dallas market other than the Cowboys star and really taken over the market kind of like we have. So our goal is, let's control Dallas and make sure that no one ever buys something that's not TrueBrvnd for the rest of their lives.
And I think this is the perfect explanation for why such a seemingly simple idea is having such massive success. Because the brand represents a type of identity and place for people to connect with that sits right in the middle of the country. And as a testament to this success, Ben told me that now 50% of their orders come from outside the state of Texas, all without the brand losing any of its Dallas roots. As of last year, TrueBrvnd became the first local apparel company to collaborate with every major sports team in its city. They also boast a licensing deal with all 10 UFL teams and have even collaborated with iconic Dallas brands and celebrities like Dude Perfect, Post Malone, and Whataburger. At this point, TrueBrvnd is undoubtedly a multi-million-dollar per year business, although Ben wouldn't confirm any exact figures for me. He did, however, seem much more at peace with what his life might look like after football.
I mean, I tell people now, this is my plan A. Football is my plan B at this point. So, I mean, obviously I'm joking when I say that, right? But if I don't pick up a football ever again, like, I think I'd be okay, right? And I'm really lucky to say that I've got something lined up that is very much so a good way of living. It's fun for me, right? I enjoy it. It'd be one thing if I didn't enjoy it, wasn't having fun, wasn't making money. But I'm in a very good position now. And honestly, I haven't even thought about it much, but if I'm done, like, I got to be the biggest optimist possible, right? Like, I don't want to think I'm done playing football, but in the grand scheme of things, if I don't get a call in the next 6 months, there's a very real chance that I don't ever pick up a football again. And
since making his first ever NFL start on Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles in 2020, where he completed 21 of 40 throws for 180 yards, Ben hasn't taken another NFL regular season snap. And after spending the 2023 season on the Seattle Sea Dragons and leading the XFL in passing yards, attempts, completions, interceptions, and throwing for the second most touchdowns, he got signed by the Denver Broncos ahead of last season, where he spent the year on the team's practice squad. But then in May of this year, he was cut again. Luckily, Ben has a multi-million-dollar side hustle to fall back on, which is more than nearly every other athlete can say.
Do you ever rub it back in your dad's face that this is working out for you as well as it has?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. I was back home last weekend, and we were having a few drinks over the 4th, and he's still, every time, he's like, I still don't understand. It still blows my mind. I tell him the same thing, right? It seems so simple. It seems so innocent, right? Upside down Dallas. Like, how has no one ever thought to do that before? And two, like, what did we do to make people want to buy this? You know what I mean? And so it's been really, really cool to I mean, right? And people, there's haters everywhere, right? You see the Instagram comments, they're like, this is the stupidest hat I've ever seen, right? Like only the D-bags wear these hats in Dallas. But I mean, we got numbers to back everything up.
A special thanks to Ben for sitting down with me. You can actually listen to the full 50-minute conversation on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and make sure to subscribe here so you don't miss my next upload. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.